Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Daily Writing Clinic. The Writing Clinic is for General Task 1. It is about the informal letter that we've been looking at this month, and it's going to be focusing on bullet point paragraph 3 of the question we've been looking at. A couple of things to say just before we start. Remember, these daily writing clinics are not mandatory, and you should focus on the course before worrying about daily writing clinics. The purpose is just to revise different aspects of the course, practice these aspects, and receive some global feedback in relation to the comments that you post. The global feedback will be given on Tuesday next week. You'll be able to find that feedback in the description of this video, in the comments of this video, and I'll also put the global feedback in a separate post. So there's 3 different places that you can find it. The benefits of this is that you can use global feedback to analyze your own work and overcome your weaknesses. Remember, there is no individual feedback with regards to these daily writing clinics. That is the whole purpose of the correction service. So if you're looking for individual feedback on your work, please use the correction service. Remember, if I'm asking questions, to post your answers in the comment section of this video, and there will be a question and answer session for 10 minutes after I've finished giving this short presentation. Remember that the question should only be focusing on the lesson topic. Okay, so we'll just be talking about the bullet points for this paragraph. Okay, for this question. With all that said, let's get on and start this week's daily writing clinic. Okay, so as before, the question we will be working on, this is what we've been looking at all month, is you are going to another country to study. You would like to do a part-time job while you're studying, so you want to ask a friend who lives there for some help. Write a letter to this friend. In your letter, give details of your study plans. So we've done that one already. Explain why you want to get a part-time job. That's what we did last week. And this week we're going to be looking at suggest how your friend could help you find a job. Write at least 150 words. You do not need to write any addresses. Begin your letter as follows. Dear blah, blah, blah. Okay, so as before, we have to decide is it formal or informal. So looking at this, it says write a letter to this friend. When we see friend, we know that it is informal. So if it is informal, that means all the language related to this letter has to be informal, and we have to remember to use contractions. I've noticed in the global feedback and the people's comments that you guys have been getting much better at this, so well done, especially with the contractions. So well done. Especially pay attention to those contractions of would. That seems to be the one that catches people out. So remember that. And this is something I noticed in last week's video, or the comments from last week's video. People are not giving the appropriate length answer. So this is really important. Okay, so remember, you need your answers, your paragraphs, to be between 45 and 55 words. Anything under the 45 words is going to be considered underdeveloped. If you're giving answers that are underdeveloped, the maximum you can get is a band 6 for task response. So make sure all of your bullet point paragraphs that you're writing are at least 45 words. At the same time, anything over this will be considered too much information, and generally what tends to happen, I've noticed when students write more than 55, is they're including a lot of irrelevant information that's not appropriate to the task. So remember to, once again, check the length, make sure you're not going over. We don't want paragraphs which are 80 words long. Okay, it's too much information. Apart from anything else, if you are writing something which is 80 words long for a paragraph, that time would be much better spent checking for grammar or vocabulary mistakes or planning your response in the first place. So please try and get this length right. It seems like a simple thing, but it does require you checking each of your paragraphs, make sure they're between 45 and 55 words. Okay, so as we mentioned before, you need to stay on topic. Very important for your bullet paragraph. So our question says, suggest how your friend could help you find a job. Okay, that means we need to find ways that your friend can help you find a job. So what I was thinking about this question the other day, first thing I thought we could talk about is maybe where they could look. Okay, so what I mean by where they could look is maybe they could look for you on some local job boards. Maybe they could look for you in some local shops. Okay, maybe they could look for you in some local newspapers. Remember, it probably wouldn't be such a great idea suggesting they look on the internet for you, because you could look on the internet yourself. So you're kind of wanting something that your friend could do to help find a job. So we don't want to be lazy here. We want to be giving, asking your friend to do things that probably you can't do. Okay. Another thing I thought we could talk about is who your friend could ask. Okay, so who could they ask for to find a job for you? So maybe they could ask some friends, maybe they could ask co-workers. So these were the kind of ideas I came up with. By all means, they're not the only ideas you could come up with, but these to me seem like the most logical ways to answering this question of where can your friend look and who can they ask, because you want to find out how your friend could help you find a job. Like I said, by all means, use other ideas. These were just the couple of ideas I came up with myself the other day. Remember, some things that we don't want to talk about. So what students often seem to do is talk about previous bullet points. So the previous bullet point paragraph was why you want a job. Remember, you don't want to be repeating information that was in the previous bullet point. Okay, so we don't want to be talking about that. And then the very first bullet point was details of a job or details of your study. That we don't need to be talking about that either, because we want to be talking about how your friend can help you find a job. So make sure that we stay on topic. Make sure we don't start talking about other things which are not relevant to the topic. So I thought I changed this. So we've got write the bullet point paragraph for the. Sorry about this. Can I stop this? There we go. No, I did this last week as well. I thought I edited that. Apologies. Okay. Right. Okay, so your task for this week is write the bullet point paragraph for the third bullet point of this question, which says suggest how your friend could help you find a job. So post your comments below in this video, and as I said, there will be global feedback on your answers this time next week. There'll be a video posted in the comments of this video, in the description of this video, and in a separate post. For the next 10 minutes, there will be a general Q&A in case you have any questions about this question. Okay, so I'm going back to here so I can see the comments. Hello, Emmy. Hello, Emery. Thank God. I can see the comments now. Sorry, the way I have to do these videos when I'm doing that little presentation, I don't get to see the comments, which is a little bit annoying. So, Emery, thank God, what are you saying? I was wondering if you could give me a hand in finding a part-time job. Yeah. Can you tell me some local newspapers which post job adverts? Also, a job at bar would be ideal for me. Please put a word for me with the manager of bar. Lovely. We would say put a word in would be the expression that you want there, Amritanko. So I like where you started off. Could you give me a hand? We don't need to say give me a hand in, we just say give me a hand finding, okay? So you have give me a hand and then you would have your noun phrase of finding a part-time job. And so that second expression that you need to fix a little bit would you put in a word for me? So put in a word for me. Apart from that, I like what you're saying. Check the word count. I haven't actually checked it, so make sure that it's got the right amount of words. Hello, Tanya, how are you? Wouldn't I have to mention what kind of job I'm looking for? So you could mention what kind of job you're looking for, as long as it's relevant to how your friend could help you find that job. So I think in both bullet point paragraph 2 and bullet point paragraph 3, you could mention the type of job. You could also mention the type of job in your purpose statement, quite honestly. But I also think, because you might be looking for any type of part-time job, because it's really the important thing is you're looking for a part-time job. So it may not be important to you if you're working in a bookshop, if you're working in a bar, if you're working in a cafe. So again, you could mention these things in the fact that, you could be asking a friend, could you go to the local bar and ask if they have any work? Could you go to the local bookshop and see if they have any work? So in that way, yes, you can definitely mention what kind of job you're looking for. But you don't want to be taking up 2 sentences talking about the type of job you're looking for. So make sure you're just keeping it on topic and relevant. I hope that explains your question. Okay, does anyone else have any question about these bullet point paragraphs? As I said, I put the global feedback up for last week's bullet point paragraph 2, so you can find that in the comments of last week's video, also in the description of last week's video, and I put a separate Facebook post as well up for that. The major issue I was really finding in people's comments from last week for bullet point paragraph 2 was the length. There was quite a lot of responses which were too short. So they were around under 40 words, and there was a number of responses which were too long as well, so make sure that you're actually putting responses that are relevant. Okay. You're welcome, Tanya. You're welcome, Amritanko. I hope it all helps. So for anyone just joining, this week's task is to write the bullet point paragraph for the third bullet point in the question we've been looking at this month, which is suggest how your friend could help you find a job. So I was suggesting for some ideas for this is you could talk about where they could look. You could talk about who they could talk to, or I think it was Amritanko mentioned earlier, I thought that was a good idea, maybe the information they could get for you. So what was Amritanko saying? Yeah, can you tell me about some local newspapers? So that's really nice. So rather than asking them to look in the local newspapers, you could just ask them to give you some information about some local newspapers or some places that you could find information on the internet. So that's also a really good idea. What's on there, Amritanko? Okay, so we've got a few more minutes left for some Q&A on this. So if you have any questions about writing bullet points, like I said, I was really impressed with the last bullet point. I thought there's only about 2 answers which have problems with contractions. So people seem to be getting much better with using the informal language and making sure that words are appropriately contracted. So great job there. I was really impressed by that. The one that still catches people out, as I mentioned, is the word would. Remember, you should be contracting would whenever you can and contracting the verb will whenever you can. So this week's task is write a bullet point paragraph for the third bullet point. You're going to another country to study. You would like to do a part-time job while you're studying. So you want to ask your friend who lives there for some help. Write a letter to this friend in your letter. And then the third bullet point we're looking at, suggest how your friend could help you find a job. Okay. Remember, the global feedback for this video can be found this time next week, so Tuesday next week. And you can find that global feedback in the comments of this video, in the description of this video, and I've also put it in a separate post. So we've just got a couple of minutes left. If anyone has any more questions about writing the bullet point for this. We have a little comment here. Vikas, hello, Vikas. Just wondering if you could suggest me some online job searching website or able to any job reference that would be helpful to find out job. Right. So Vikas, first thing I'm looking at is I am. Remember, this is going to be an informal letter, so we've got to make sure that we've got contractions. So as an expression, we wouldn't say I'm just wondering. I would use I'm wondering, so we wouldn't put that in just as a vocabulary thing. I'm wondering if you could suggest. And then when we do suggest, you need your object, as in the thing you're going to suggest, and then you put to me. So I was wondering if you could suggest some online job websites to me, or if you are able to give me a job reference. So not able to any, able to give me a job reference. So that would be helpful to find a job for myself. Tanya, right? After we've completed writing the whole letter, would you be so kind and offer a sample answer to see an examiner's example? I'm sure I could put a whole thing in the global feedback for next week. I could do that for you, Tanya, no problem. It'd be wonderful if you let me know about any job vacancies. That's a good start. If you find any advertisements on we would say the adverts are in newspapers. So if you could find any advertisements in newspapers, make sure newspapers is plural because we're talking about any newspapers. I'd love to check them out. That's great. Also, any recommendations from your colleagues or friends are even better. Anything at all is fine by me. That's a really nice response, Kishore. As just a couple of little things I mentioned there. So good job. Okay, so that's our time. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, no problem, Daniel. I'll write one of those out for you next week. Okay. So for this week, that's all there is. So please remember, post your responses to the task in this comment section, and I will look at them all and make a little global feedback video for you guys next week. Thank you very much for coming along, and good luck with all your exam preparation.